Hey everyone, we're gonna be talking basically about life. Gonna say ask me anything. Gonna share this to Twitter for the moment. Link's been shared. Do I have a big board? Oof. Right now, no. Um, it's kind of in work in progress, I guess. Receivers wise, I'm start to rank the top of the class. I need 100. Yeah. Um, it's going. It'll get there. Right now, working through most of the tackles. I already did the interior guys, doing the offensive tackles right now. I still have to watch a lot of running backs, and I have to watch quarterbacks. So right now, I don't have anything close to like a finalized 100. It'll probably come together fully, like done with each position group a couple of weeks before the actual draft. But I do have the receivers kind of ranked right now at the top, mostly underclassmen up top. Ruggs and Lamb and Judy in the first tier, and then Jefferson and Chenault in the second tier with Rieger and Hamler, Mims, and possibly T. Higgins, depending on how he tests, kind of in that third. Any other questions, Don Black? I'm not as high at Brandon Ayuk as others. I think he's kind of a linear athlete, but he struggles to get off press. I think if you scheme him to be a field stretcher from the slot, you'll get the most out of him. But I don't like his projection into a full route tree, and because he struggles with press and contact, I don't like his projection outside. So I think he's kind of a very particular projection to the NFL. So I'm a little bit down on him, but he's going to test extremely well. He's going to run. He's going to run. There's talks he's going to run high 4.3s. So he's going to do well. It's just I think he's just really particular. I think he's going to end up in like the third, maybe like late third for me, like lower half of the top 100. People are going to be mad about that. I like Tyler Johnson. I have him decently. I think other people are higher on him, but he's another guy who I think is kind of almost the opposite. Tyreek Hill's definitely a deep threat, Jason. Tyler Johnson's almost the opposite of Brandon Ayuk. He can't get vertical very well. He can beat press coverage extremely well, but he's best used in the red zone. Because his speed is really limited, and he like doesn't have really good technical ability when he goes to get vertical. Like he never really stacks. He's good at getting off press, and that's used in the red zone. But other than that, he's a kind of a slot receiver who's really good at in breaking routes, like going over the middle, stuff like that. So I like him in a projection to like the Mohamed Sanu role, big slot role. But realistically, he's going to be limited reps on the outside to red zone stuff, and then he's on the inside and going over the middle type of stuff. So I think he's another guy that's kind of a very particular projection, kind of like the anti-Ayuk. So I think he's going to fall into that same range for me, like that third round, bottom half of the top 100. Tight ends in the class that I like, Hunter Bryant, Adam Trotman, Thad Moss. All of them are really different. Thad's probably the least athletic of them all, even though he's Randy's son. But he has great hands and he's a powerful blocker, but there's technical issues with his blocking. He needs development there. Trotman's probably the best all-around one, and then Hunter Bryant's probably the best athlete, pure athlete, best with the ball in his hands, best in space type of guy. So I think those three are going to be my top three. Once again, depends on the test. I hope Thad Moss just runs like a high 4.6. I would probably end up with him in the second round. Guys, ask me anything. I have not watched Ryan O'Grady yet. Next year's receiver class, I think it's going to be great. Even past the guys that you mentioned, Chris Olave, I think is going to be really good. Devontae Smith is really good. Tylan Wallace from Oklahoma State could have come out this year. Sage Surratt from Wake Forest could have come out this year. I think Wake Forest can be pretty good next year, by the way. But I think all those guys on top of Rashad Bateman, Rondell Moore, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, obviously, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think the class next year is going to be really strong. And actually, I don't think it's crazy to say that next year's the top of the class, like the first round, could be just as good, if not stronger, than this year's when you take into account Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle and Rondale Moore and their potential. Obviously, there's some development needed there, but I think next year's guys can be really strong. I don't think it's going to be as deep. This year's depth is probably the best I've ever seen. So that's going to be the comparison, the top of the class versus the depth. But next year's class is going to be really good. Probably, if not for 2020, 2021 could end up as like would have been the best since 2014. What else you guys got? The perfect post corner route. Ooh. So I teach a 5-step post. Depending on the level, we could do a 7-step post. So ideally, you want to win inside. So you want to release inside. Stick to the post. You want to sell with your eyes 3 steps. So really going to be breaking back to the corner on your 8th step. Yeah, on your 8th step. And I think you want to keep it high to the corner, especially if you're able to get the cornerback on your backside. If you can stay with your angle high up towards the pylon, and then you can bend it back down if necessary, if the throw needs to get there away from the safety. So I want to win inside, stick, sell with my eyes back to the quarterback 3 steps, and then keep the angle high up to the pylon before bending it back down. If the throw, that's where the throw goes. That'd be my perfect post corner. Thoughts on KJ Hamler or Cam Dantzler or Damon Arnett? So Cam Dantzler and Arnett, I think Arnett's a great athlete, physical run defender. I think he's probably a really strong number 2 corner in the NFL. When it comes to Cam Dantzler, I've only seen clips of him. I actually haven't watched him yet. But what he seems to be is a really physical and really toolsy guy. I saw him play against LSU, but I never particularly watched him. I was watching LSU, but he seemed to flash in that game. I thought he played really well against Chase, so he'll be a guy that I get to soon when I go back to do the rest of the corners, and I'm excited to see him. And then when it comes to KJ Hamler, I think what you said, Jacob, thoughts on KJ Hamler, catch point's a problem. But yeah, obviously his size isn't going to help with the contested catches. He's not a natural pass catcher by any means, I wouldn't say. I think he's more of a little bit of a body catcher when he has to extend, when he has to win up top. He struggles a little bit. But when he is hit kind of like in the chest and he can run through that catch point, he's dangerous. I mean, that rep against Ohio State when he outran Sean Wade, who's a freak athlete himself. I mean, that was one of the most impressive reps. That was in 2018. It was like a 90-yard touchdown on a slant. That was one of the most impressive reps. So really electric talent. I think he's going to run into the 4.3s, but I think he's a slot receiver because his size limits him, his contested catch ability limits him. So you want to get the ball in his hands quickly and let him get to work. What else you got? Ask me, guys. Literally ask me anything about life, Rhode Island, whatever you want to say. The Michigan hat that I'm wearing. Yeah, so KJ Hamler is saying you love his speed, but you think he might be bullied a bit. I think that can be schemed around a little bit more nowadays. I think offensive coordinators realize that when it comes to smaller receivers, one, they want to have the speed and the elusiveness and the agility out there. But when it comes to that, is those guys are always going to be smaller. So the big thing to do is to scheme those guys open. So a big one is motion, right? So you motion him into the backfield across the formation. You motion him into a stacked or bunch alignment, and you allow him to get free releases. And once he gets a free release, he's too fast to get contacted, right? The Patriots did that with Edelman because, I mean, he was kind of new to playing receiver. They did that with Edelman early on in his career, like really, really well, until he kind of developed a little bit more out to be able to play outside. So early on, I think that's what you got to do with KJ Hamler. And to unlock his speed, you got to scheme him open at the line of scrimmage. What do I think of Lynn Bowden Jr., the receiver from Kentucky, quarterback the last 8 games this season? I'm writing an article about him. It's going to be out tomorrow. So I do want to say just wait for the article because I really like Lynn Bowden. He's special with the ball in his hands as a returner, as a quarterback, as a running back, as a receiver. You just want to get the football in his hands as fast as possible, and he's going to do well. So he's going to be a great piece for an NFL team. He's going to end up as a returner too. But he also has good size. He was their leading receiver in 2018 by like 300 or 400 yards. He was their leading receiver early on in the first 4.5 games of this year before I moved to quarterback. This year in 2019 by a lot. I think there's like a 10-game stretch at like 800 yards and like 60 catches for 800 yards. So he's actually a pretty refined receiver for someone who has limited reps there in college. So I like Lynn Bowden a lot. I think he's going to end up on day 2 for me, the latter half of day 2. But a guy who has a lot of upside at the position. What position in rugby did you play, and how long did you play? I played second row. I played for 2 years of college. My senior year, my grad year, and the first year I played 15s, and then a little bit of 7s, and then the next year we had a better 7s team, so I played more 7s, and we went to D2 nationals. And we got 7th out of 16 there after we're in our conference to go to nationals. And I was we would start our 7, and I was the first guy off the bench in the start of the second half. So that was kind of my role, just get 7 minutes in and go hard. But in 15s, I was second row. I would kind of dabble at outside center, use my speed a little bit more, but they used to want my height, and then I'd be able to lift on the lineouts. But I love playing rugby, Cole. I have to pick between Bowden, Hamler, and Aiyuk round 3. Who am I taking? I'm taking KJ Hamler. I think his projection's a little bit easier. What's my degree? Criminal justice. I think his projection's a little bit easier. I think I can unlock his potential the easiest. I'd probably take Bowden over Aiyuk, to be honest, at this stage. Just because I think he's equally as good with the ball in his hands, and then I think his refinement as a receiver is going to be better than Aiyuk's. Which receiver do you think will have the fastest 40, not including Ruggs or Rieger? Funny enough, I'm actually writing an article about that too. That should come out tomorrow. A full combine prediction for wide receivers. But the answer for me is Hamler. But I also had honorable mentions: Tyree Cleveland, Aiyuk, Devin Duvernay, and somebody else that I'm forgetting. So that would be, I would probably say Hamler. I think he's going to be a 4.3 guy. I think he's pretty fast. Steve, have you gone in depth on Donovan Peoples-Jones yet? Do you think he's got a trump card that will help him succeed in the NFL? I would say a trump card. I don't know if he's quite that, but I think he's super explosive. And I think he's really flexible and loose, and allows him, especially in the red zone, and the few reps that he was able to do this, to like stick his foot in the ground, rise up to the catch point, like real fluidly. And he has really good explosiveness. So that would be, though he's not necessarily built like a contested catch guy, he can do it really well. And I also think he's really well balanced, where if he's not in the end zone doing that, he's able to stay upright and get yards after the catch. So that's where I like him a lot. Peoples-Jones is a lot, but he's going to be a better pro than college player. They're limited with their passing offense. And I think he has a lot of potential, and he's super young. I think he's just turned 21. So I like Peoples-Jones. There's so many receivers that I like, but he is another one that I'm a fan of, as you can probably tell. Did my football skills translate to rugby? Yes, they did, for sure. I started right away in the 15s team after playing 3 years of college football, 4 years of college football, whatever it was. And yeah, I definitely translated tackling, running with the ball. It was obviously a little bit different, but I think overall is a pretty easy translation. How has this draft season been for you? Kept busy or a little more relaxed this year compared to last year? I love draft season. I'm literally just work, grind tape, watch college basketball, watch hockey. Like once I get into winter sports mode after football, it's like that's my favorite time of year, where I just like all my time. I'm not spending any money because I'm just like focused on watching film and like watching like basketball and hockey. All like that takes up my entire day, my entire nights. And then when I'm back in the weight room with the football team that I coach, which also gets me back in the weight room a little bit more than usual. So this is my favorite time of year. I wouldn't say it's relaxed, but I just definitely keep busy. Strengths and who's the better co-host of the NFL Draft Brawl podcast? No comment, Zach. No comment. I have some questions about Denzel Mims, Antonio Gandy Golden, and Laviska Shenault. Mims' strengths and weaknesses: body control, expanding his catch radius, getting vertical in his routes, blocking. Weaknesses: I think there's technical issues with his route running that he's able to overcome because he's a great athlete. But I think he could still improve his horizontal breaks. Um, Antonio Gandy Golden just seems like another X receiver like Jefferson or Mims, or what separates him from his type? To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Antonio Gandy Golden. I think he's a day three guy, like middle of day three. Good size, decent athlete for his size, but I don't like his projection on anything on any routes that break inside. I think he's kind of a numbers on the field and outside type of player, and like just a complimentary piece. Can win while he's contested, but I think that's your only standout trait. I'm not high in your projection. And then the question about Laviska Shenault, is he just a gadget player or could he be a real number one? He could be a real number one for sure. There's going to be development that's needed. I wrote about him for Pro Football Network. Like there were reps when he had really good horizontal breaks. There were reps where he beat press coverage and got vertical and ran a corner. There were reps, where he was running routes from the slot, finding voids in zone coverage. He has all the potential. He's just not done it because Colorado used him in a weird way. And I think that kind of didn't help his development as much as it could have. Colorado was trying to win games, so I get it. They're using him in a different way than maybe he would have been best suited to develop as a pro prospect. But I think overall his development is a little bit behind because of that. But it's still there. The traits are definitely there for him to be a number one. It's just going to be it's just going to be a little bit of a development process for him. How do I feel about Courtney Davis on a team like the Chargers, where he could come in and be a wide receiver 3? I think that's probably one of the best fits for him. There's a lot of guys like that in this class. KJ Hill would be like that. Van Jefferson would be like that, where they have two guys, one who's definitely a boundary receiver, and then Keenan who can kind of play both. So you can mix the alignment of Courtney Davis and KJ Hill and Van Jefferson and those guys, along with Keenan Allen, kind of expose matchups, move them around, have them both play in the slot sometimes, and let them thrive and play that third wide receiver role right away and moving forward. So that's probably one of his best landing spots. Matt Miller dropped Tyler Johnson to day 3 after having him as a fringe first rounder coming in the year. Any reason why Matt would do this? He finally watched tape. So probably what would it have been? Tyler Johnson was never close to a first rounder, by the way. He was always a good prospect, day 2 guy. Never that high. So probably just got caught up on the film, I would say. Zach. Zach just asked questions to try to get me to slip up and laugh. It's kind of rude, to be honest. What else you guys got for me? Ask me anything life related, rugby related. What's the fall off for running backs? What's the fall off for running backs? I think you're asking like where's the age that they fall off? I would say like I don't know, 2,000 carries. I don't know. I'd have to look more deeper into that. You coach football. What do you use to organize playbooks and film? We use Huddle, HUDL Huddle. I'm on Huddle a lot in the season. Not so much right now. But it's probably the playbook organizer kind of sucks on there. I like first down playbooks more, but the film aspect I think is really easy. It's really easy to organize, and that's what we use in college, so it's easy for me to use it because that's just what I know. I have some experience with Exos and DV Sport, and I still prefer Huddle, so we'll probably keep using Huddle. Do you think CeeDee Lamb's vertical production was limited by Hurts or just speed limitations? Well, I think there were some reps of him where he got vertical and one vertical. There was one against LSU. His first catch against Iowa State. There's a play against South Dakota. So he can definitely get vertical. Probably, I actually think Hurts throws a pretty good deep ball. It just has to be like a perfect pocket for him. I don't want to say he's limited speed. I think CD is like a low 4.5s guy. He can win down the field because of his body control and his ball skills. But I don't know if I want to say it was limited by Hurts or his speed. I think it was just kind of it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad vertical production. It just wasn't good. And he might not ever be that guy. He's probably more of this guy's going to win in the intermediate a lot. And that's fine. But yeah, I don't know if he's ever just going to be that guy, to be honest. Not that hurts his projection. I mean, I think we know what CD is. He's never going to be that Henry Ruggs down the field, speed 4-2 threat, that's fine. But, his body control, his ball skills, he can get physical. He can win the whole route tree. I mean, that's why he's a great receiver prospect. Would T. Higgins be the perfect complement to Hollywood Brown for the Ravens offense? I think T. Higgins would be a great complement to Hollywood Brown. I don't think T. Higgins would fit in the Ravens offense. What they ask out of their receivers, kind of how they use their tight ends and their fullbacks. I mean, there's a reason why Miles Boykin didn't do anything this year, and that was really because of the way the Ravens run their offense and what they ask out of their receivers. So I think T. Higgins, while his skill set would fit closely to Hollywood Brown's in the sense of a complement, I don't think he fits well into that offense. Which college basketball team? URI? No, hell no. No, I hate URI. I'm a providence college fan. I grew up despising URI basketball, still do to this day. I like their football team. I'll support their football team. I support any football team in Rhode Island. But college hoops, I'm Providence all the way. I fell in love with them when they had Ryan Gomes and Donnie McGrath way back in the early 2000s. And I was like, 9 or 10 years old. So I've been a fan of them since. Probably watch pretty much every single game. Even we were recording the other day, me and Zach, and I had the Providence game on, like right here as we were recording, and I'm like the whole time I'm just like looking over there as the game was going on. So you can ask Zach about how much of a diehard I am when it comes to them. Jerry Jeudy is. Why do you think Jerry Judy's dropping 5 to 10 prospect? I still think he's I still think he's probably a fringe top 10 prospect. I think the receiver class is just really strong. I don't know if Judy's dropping. He's gonna have a good combine. He's gonna run well in the 40. He's gonna have a good vertical. He's gonna have a good short shuttle. So, and he did all that well back in high school. So he could still be a top 10 guy. He's just maybe he's been so highly regarded for so long that people are just catching up on other prospects in the class, and that's why he's dropping in the public eye. Do you teach by USA Football Concepts techniques, or do you have your own unique methods? I have my own methods when it comes to wide receiver play. Not that I disagree with what they do, USA Football. I've seen some of their stuff, but pretty much whatever I do, I've gotten from personal experience playing in college or clinics that I've gone to, and then kind of develop my own stuff, training guys one-on-one. So I'm not saying I don't know if I do different ones than them. Some of it might be the same, but I don't like strictly abide by their stuff. Legit question from Zach. Explain to these kind people why Henry Ruggs is your wide receiver one over guys like Lamb and Jeudy because of film. Well, great speed, game-breaking speed. I think he's an all-around prospect. I think even if he ran like a 4.4, mid 4.4s, I'd still have him as a first-round pick. Great press releases. I think he gets vertical really well. I think he runs the whole route tree well. I think he has the potential to be an even better route runner because of his flexibility, his speed, his quickness, his ability to decelerate. I think it's special, and that allows him to create separation when it comes to curls and comebacks and that type of stuff. Unbelievable player with the ball in his hands. Can absolutely bust angles. You can hand him the ball and on fly sweep. You can get him involved in the screen game. He's an all-around player. And then on top of that, he's also gonna change the way defenses guard you because of his speed differently than how defenses are gonna have to guard CD or, in my opinion, or Jerry Jeudy. Not that those guys, they're gonna get extra attention, just not the attention and the space that defense is gonna give Henry Ruggs because he runs potential 4.2. Talking talent this year, where is the fall for running backs in this year's class? Oh, okay. All right. So I like Dobbins, Taylor Swift, Edwards-Helaire. I gotta bring up my rankings or something. I'm not a big fan of like Cam Akers. I think he has issues with his vision. I think AJ Dillon's limited. Love him to death, but I think his vision or his projection's limited because of his lack of speed and lack of pass catching. I'm not a huge on Keyshawn Vaughn. I think like DJ Dallas is okay. Michael Piron's okay, but I think that's kind of the top. I think I forgot someone too, probably, who's like at the top, and then there's probably a little bit of a drop off after them. You mentioned Van Jefferson, Courtney Davis, KJ Hill as good wide receiver threes. What receiver do you think best fits the Chargers with Anthony Lynn, assuming Tyrod is the quarterback? Assuming Tyrod is the quarterback. I would like a guy who can fix accuracy and play out of structure. With Tyrod is the quarterback of the Chargers, which Mike Williams can do the first part and Keenan Allen can do the second part, but a third guy could probably do a little bit of both. Hold on, that's a good question. I gotta pull up the whole list. Oh, you know what would be really good for them? I think Isaiah Hodgins from Oregon State. I'd say Isaiah Hodgins or Donovan Peoples-Jones for that third wide receiver spot for the Chargers, and probably both could be had in round 3. What happened to Kendrick Rogers, A&M? He did not develop at all. Specimen, huge, ripped, long arms, probably going to bench a house, but he did not develop at all. He had, like 200 or 300 yards this year. He did not do very well. Do you invest any energy to the NBA draft prospects in the NBA draft itself? No. No, I'll watch some of those Draft Express videos. I'll look at like some mock drafts and stuff. And when it comes to the Celtics and like whoever they're projected to take, I'll watch like a few of those Draft Express videos. If those are, even still around. I think they kind of have a deal with like ESPN now. But no, I don't know as much about it. I watch college basketball, so I know, obviously I'm going to know the top few guys, but anyone who gets drafted from Europe, I have no idea about them. No idea. So no, I don't do the NBA draft as much as I do the NFL. I liked everything you said until Cam Akers. Sorry, Don. I have issues with his vision. Great athlete. Should have went back to school. You would have fit well with Mike Norvell's offense really well. It would have helped him develop. But anyway, thoughts on Jordan Love. I think Love is going to end up as a top 4 quarterback drafted. I think maybe that's obvious by now. I think he's above Jacob Eason. I think he's a future starter in the NFL. I think he's a decade starter. I really do. Good athlete, can make some serious throws. I thought he read the defense well when they played LSU, and that was actually a pretty impressive tape overall. He made some poor decisions with the football this year, but I think part of that was losing Matt Wells as the coach and a lot of talent on the offensive side from the year before. So I think he's going to be, if you base him on this year, he's going to be a better pro than he was this past year for Utah State. Best defensive players not named Jeff Okudah and Isaiah Simmons. Chase Young, I guess. But hoping my Giants go defense. My next 2 answers are going to be Derek Brown and Javon Kinlaw. I think you guys are pretty set in the interior D-line. Best defensive prospects. I like Grant Delpit, Xavier McKinney. Not that high on the linebacker class. Patrick Queen would probably be my second linebacker if you count Simmons as one. There's a lot of good defensive players. It's just I don't know if there's a huge standouts beyond those interior guys after the guys you mentioned. AJ's the man. My high school did some joint practices with him. Great mentality. Definitely think he's going to exceed people's expectations in the league. AJ. Did I see Fuzi Vu get suspended? Yes, I did. He deserves it. He was out there just swearing at everybody last night. I don't know if anyone saw that, but who would you like the Chiefs to take in the first round if Chris Jones stays? And what if he leaves? Well, picking 32, it's kind of hard to know who's going to be there. Clark's back. He's thinking definitely defense for them. Yeah, probably right. They could probably go defensive back no matter what if Chris Jones stays or goes, right? They've drafted enough D linemen over the last few years. I think they could probably go defensive back. So thinking like Jeff Gladney, Jalen Johnson, something like that at the end of the first round. I don't know. I'd have to see how the board falls. I can't. It's a cop-out answer, but to be honest, it's true. Jonah Tulls was talking about Trevon Diggs and Bryce Hall. Shout out Jonah. Possibly being better fits at safety. What are your thoughts on that? I definitely like Bryce Hall as a corner. I think his tools out there, his press coverage, his long arms, everything like that. To me, suggests that he should be a press cover corner. Trevon Diggs, I don't hate that idea. He has good ball skills. I think you could use that when it comes to range. Obviously, we got to see him take reps there before, but that could be a type of Devin McCourty type of of transition for Trevon Diggs. I don't hate that idea. What does Joe Brady bring to the Panthers in terms of scheme? I think he has. I think he's pretty innovative. Some of the things that he would do was really basic, kind of like that Mike Leach type of thing where it's basic, but they rep it so often that it works. But one thing that they did a lot of was bunch stuff, and then they let the quarterback decide what was going on, and they run a lot of those slot choice or X choice routes that you see the Saints do with Michael Thomas. So that would be something big that I would imagine the Panthers end up doing with Joe Brady is those choice routes, especially on the backside. If it's the Panthers, hopefully it's DJ Moore, not Curtis Samuel. Shout out DJ. You're a Celtics fan. How about the Clippers game from Tatum? Tatum's a dog. It's my favorite guy in the world. Future Hall of Famer. AJ Dillon. Oh, good take from AJ Dillon. You're the first person I've seen that thinks Love's LSU tape wasn't bad at all. It really wasn't. And I'm not the first. I'm telling you, I'm not. I've talked to a lot of people who thought the same thing. When you even Zach Hicks thinks that same thing. When you take into account the talent that LSU had on defense, this is NFL defense, and I don't think there's another player on Utah State's offense that's going to go to the NFL. You can take that into account. I thought he processed the defense well, but he got the ball out when he needed to. I think his production was just limited because he was playing with, CFL, XFL guys. Oh, AJ Dillon. Gotcha. Yeah, AJ Dillon's awesome, man. He's great. I've met him once, and then I've obviously heard a lot of things when it comes to Boston College, live close by and go to all the games and stuff. Yeah, AJ's great. He's going to be a great pro. I think he's just a little bit limited because of the lack of pass catching, but I want him to get the ball downhill and be a short yardage guy. Michael Pittman, what you got? I comped him to Allen Robinson, probably a ceiling comp for him. Has a great size. Like good looking athlete, his dad played in the NFL and everything too. I think his profile is great. I think he's a boundary receiver for sure. But I think he runs a pretty decent full route tree when it comes to his traits for a bigger guy. Can separate on curls and comebacks and can hit those in-breaker routes, but can win above the rim. I mean, Utah just put 2 straight guys on him over him. It was actually kind of hilarious to watch Utah try to play Michael Pittman, but I think eventually he's going to be like a number 3 option and complementary piece. He's not going to be that boundary receiver that's your dominant number 1. That's fine. He's still going to be a good player, but I think at one point in time there was a sense during the season that he might have that potential. I just think he's, wide receiver 2 upside, but wide receiver 3 projection. Is this class for tight ends even worth drafting early? Depends what you mean by early. There's definitely no Font Hawkinson. No, for sure. There's not any of those guys. When you say early, if you're talking top 20, I would say no. Even top 25, I'd say no. But if you're a team looking for a tight end, you want to trade into the back of the first round, the end of the first round, and take one, I'm okay with that. Or on round 2, if you have a need at tight end, I'd be okay with that. Probably outside of the top 25 for sure. Which wide receiver should the Eagles target considering how bad they were last year? Well, I think it depends what they're going to do with Alshon first and foremost. But I think what eventually what's going to happen is they're going to look at Henry Ruggs, and then once he gets taken by the Broncos, they're going to be looking at Jalen Reagor. If they don't like either of those, or if both are gone, and when it comes to later on, it's going to be KJ Hamler and Lynn Bowden from Kentucky. Those would be the guys they look at to fill that like field stretcher from the slot type of role that they thought they were getting from Deshaun and that Nelson Aguilar could never do. Do you think people may sour on Christian Fulton and possibly fall to the end of the first round? I think he's always been a late first rounder, to be honest. There was talked about his, potential development to become kind of a top guy, but his ball skills never quite got there. So I think he's always been a back half of the first round type of player. Should be one of the first, after Okudah could be, the maybe 3rd, 4th corner off the board. But I think he's a 17 to 32 guy. If Tua goes first, would you be surprised? I'd be surprised, yeah. I mean, just the fact that his injury history, he's injured right now. I think Burrow is a safer pick. So safer, and I don't think the upside is really that much different either. So I'd be surprised if they take that risk with the number 1 pick. If that's the number 4 pick, then I would understand it, or number 3, because if this is a number 1 pick in the draft. I don't want to take what is going to be seen as a risk at number 1. Which linebacker gets taken after Simmons? Kenneth Murray or Patrick Queen? I would take Patrick Queen over Kenneth Murray. I think. I think it's going to be Kenneth Murray. I think he's going to have a great combine. He looks the part. He has production over a longer period of time in college. So I think it's going to be Kenneth Murray, but I would take Patrick Queen. Better Rhode Island wide receiver, Isaiah Coulter or Aaron Parker? It's really hard for me to answer. I don't really want to say one's better, but I'm going to say the better one is Aaron Parker. But Coulter's a year younger, so I like his potential too. How'd you get into scouting, and what were your plans before you started scouting? I kind of fell into it, I guess. Was always doing it while I was playing, and once I got done playing, started to post stuff on Twitter, and then got asked by sites to write for them and do it for them. So it was kind of something that I always did, that I started to publicize, and once I started to publicize it, people took notice. I didn't have any plan to do it now, but as a coach, you kind of do it anyway, so kind of a natural thing. And as a player, you kind of do it too. It looks like Clowney might set the market in free agency. If you're a GM, what type of contract would you be comfortable giving him? How old is he now? He's going to be 27, 75 games played. Yeah, I think I'd be okay with giving him a contract. If I have the cap space, if he sets the edge market, I'd be okay with that as a GM. I think Clowney's a special player. Thoughts on Zach Bond? I'm not that high on him, and I question where he fits in the NFL. Hold on one second. Thoughts on Zach Bond, and I'm not that high on him, and I question where he fits in the NFL. Yeah, he's going to be an edge in the NFL. I don't like him in the first round. Whispers. I think that when it comes to a first round edge, I want a guy who I know is going to be a 10-sack player, and I'm not convinced about that with Zach Bond. I think he's more of a second round pick, but that's the position he's going to play when it comes to the league. Davian Taylor, linebacker, any opinion? I don't have an opinion on him. I've not watched his tape. Did I miss anything up here? No, I don't think I did. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for the night, guys. Thank you for joining. Probably going to do a lot more live streams moving forward as I kind of build up my YouTube channel. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the questions. Until next time.